Street. I know where you are.
I know where you are.
Well, we've got some things to do, don't we? We've got some work out ahead of us. We hope that we'll get a bill back from the other house shortly, get a conference committee going, and put in place, could you put that thing back up on the cracks in Wall Street? There's a street that needs a repair. There is a street that needs a serious repair. We need to go back. I would love to see Glass-Steagall Act back in place. I was insurance commissioner for 8 years in California, and I know how that industry operates. And if they're able to play games, if the banks are able to play games, moving money back and forth from one side to the other, there's going to be another crash coming in the days ahead.
The gentleman yield. In the discussion today in the Financial Services Committee on Lehman's, now mind you, this is an examiner who's been appointed by the court to go through 5 million emails and documents. And his report has been presented to the court and to Congress, and it was just unbelievable to note that Repo 105s, which are short for what Lehman was doing, which was at the end of a quarter, they were selling off their liabilities to a third party, paying interest on it, so it looked like they were not leveraged as highly. And then after the quarter was over, they were buying back those liabilities, and those are called Repo 105s. Now, believe it or not, they did that over and over again, and the SEC knew about it and took no action.
When did that happen? What years?
It happened 2004, 5, 6, 7. During the time that the SEC had reduced the number of enforcement actions in this country by 80%. Now, I said 80%, and the number of disgorgement actions by some 60%.
Well,
SEC was asleep at the switch.
To yield back for a moment, my recollection is that the chairman of the board of the Federal Reserve was saying that the market would regulate itself. Wasn't that what Mr. Greenspan was saying, that the market would regulate itself and there was no need for government enforcement? Apparently he was wrong. And I reckon he came before a congressional committee and said, I made a mistake. He certainly did. If Lehman Brothers was able to cook the books, that's exactly what it is. That is cooking the books. As the regulator of the insurance industry for 8 years, if a company came to me and I could see that they were shifting their liabilities over to the asset column at the last day of the quarter, then shifting back on the first day of the next quarter, that company should be in deep trouble and would be. But apparently the SEC was a lapdog for Wall Street?
Well, those statistics, if the gentleman will yield, make the case better than anything we can say or do. Under Christopher Cox, who was then the SEC chairman, a former member of this very body, but appointed during the Bush administration, during those years, 2003, 2007, to have that kind of reduction in their actions, whether they're disgorgement or enforcement actions, and furthermore, to only have 24 employees, 24 employees in that division responsible for the CSEs that was created in 2004. You can understand they were overworked, and clearly there was no intention to provide the kinds of safeguards that we needed. I yield back.
It's hard to believe that the regulatory system for the financial underpinnings of this nation was completely on the sidelines while Wall Street was playing these games. In the case of Lehman Brothers, what I would call is flat out cooking your books. If that wasn't a fraud, I don't know what is a fraud. They should have been slapped down. That should have stopped. It didn't happen because the total regulatory process of this nation was on the sideline. 24 people regulating this looking over this entire industry, and the SEC under Chairman Cox, who was appointed by George W. Bush, simply didn't do its job. Now, where are we going to go today? We passed out of this House